I really didn't know anything about Texas. I loved the track team and the program. We were mesmerized by these guys because they had the fastest sprinters in the world. And they had essentially Olympians from Jamaica, Trinidad, Australia, Germany. We had an international team, and it was anchored by, it had to be like 8 Olympians at least. And so for me, that was pretty much a draw. I wanted to compete at a really high level, and for a team that had that attitude, we will not be defeated. That's where I came from in high school. And so it was a natural transition for me to come to a program like that. So my mother, for whatever reason, her and Coach Vandenberg really hit it off out of all the other coaches. And she really felt like El Paso, Texas was a good place for me to come. Being an inner city kid, rambunctious, full of testosterone, aggressive, passive aggressive, but still always ready to fight. And even though I was playing music, I still had to keep my guard up all the time. So consequently, I had a lot of altercations with guys who thought they were bullies, and I've just never subscribed to that ever in my life. So I had a lot of battles growing up, and that was my mother's primary reason for wanting me to go to school as far away from that environment as possible. But being that I was a musician and that I was playing with this stellar group of musicians who were encouraging me to stay and go to the Philadelphia Music Academy and aspire to perform and stay with them, you're a young kid and you're at a fork in the road in your life, My bandmates had set up an intervention and got my mother's permission to take me up to Manhattan to visit one of their musician friends who had blown up popularity-wise. He had gone off to Europe, was doing great things, was getting ready to be world-renowned. And he had just come back from a tour, and he was staying in Manhattan, and they asked my mother if I could go up. And the whole trip was about them talking me out of going to college out west. And she didn't know anything about it. And I really didn't know it was going to be that. But when we got up there, the first thing the guys asked me is, what are you going to Texas for? There's nothing out there but tumbleweed and jackrabbits, And that was the first thing they asked me. And they were making fun, but they were basically saying, you're leaving us to go all the way to Texas, dude? And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, man. The first day waking up here, after getting here at night and waking up the next day, from my room in the dorm, I stayed on the 4th floor. And our room overlooked waters. I mean, it looked straight across the river. Abarca was maybe to our right, but we could look straight into the shanty side of waters, and it just made an impact that I'm going to school with common folk in this area. Every day people get up and they have the same struggle as the same people living the worst conditions back in Pennsylvania that I've seen. But I respected that and I embraced it. And it just made me feel a kinship to this area. I don't know why. Some people might have thought it was an eyesore, but it wasn't the case for me. Coming here from Philly, where you always had to be on guard, even when you were off guard, coming to El Paso essentially just slowed my metabolism down to where I felt for the first time in my life that I could relax, get to know people. Not that I didn't have classmates and teammates growing up back east, that we had that bond. It didn't come as quickly or readily. Mm-hmm. But I do remember an incident. The very first day I had a particular class, and these 2 guys, we were waiting to go into the class, and we were filing in one by one, and there were 2 guys and they were from California, and two Anglo guys, and young, handsome, looked like surfers, blonde hair, and it was bleached, and they were tan, and you could tell they were California guys. And this was the hippie period, and it was all good, but I didn't know them. And one of them saw me. I had a huge afro back then, but one of them looked at me when we were going in, and he says, "How you doing, soul brother?" Like that. And I didn't know really if he was being a smart or if he was genuine. And my response to them was very rude and very swift and very cold. And it embarrassed them. But when I saw that it embarrassed them and it had that impact, it made me feel a little bad also, because I thought maybe I did overreact. But I hadn't yet gotten my previous life behind me. And so in a week or two, we were friends, going to go bowl at the Union after class, hanging out, it was, you can't even imagine that stuff happening. I wouldn't have ever thought that would happen, but it did happen, mingling. And then my teammates started showing up, and from all ethnicities, Nigeria, Sweden, Spain, all over. And they came here with the mentality that, hey, we're a family, we're a team, it's about the mission at hand, and we carry ourselves as young men. So we had no drama on our track team. We had a united front. There was no adolescent nonsense that a lot of teenage boys go through or young men go through when they're young. We were here and we were focused on what we had to do. So.